All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Prime Time on this Wednesday night. A cold Wednesday night, but Tony P has us thinking warm thoughts.
Yes.
With his tan suit.
The problem is this reflects heat, so I'm thinking about this. Maybe it's not the greatest idea to wear a color like this. You need things to absorb heat. So I might be thinking about this in a different way.
All right, fair enough. But,
I'm self-aware.
It's a summer suit, and we are going to talk summer coming up here in just a second. American football fans may be counting down the days until Super Bowl 60, but football fans worldwide, I should say, are counting down to the World Cup. And part of the reason why is because all the action gets underway right here in North America this summer. And of course, you can catch it all right here on Fox 5. Tonight, though, we're talking about one man's mission to introduce the game to kids. And he's doing it with a brand new bilingual book. Take a look. It's called Goal. And it is a board book designed for kids up to the age of 6. And it introduces Spanish and English soccer vocabulary through the excitement of game day. The book drops in March. First, though, tonight, author and viral creator Mike Alfaro joining us now live. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Let me get my thing here. There we go.
Perfect.
Now we're in business. Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I feel underdressed with those beautiful suits and the beautiful tan suit.
You are good, my friend. Listen.
Okay, but
you're the guest of honor.
Obviously, we have to get your opinion on it, though. Everyone else is weighing in on
we got to ask everybody now.
How do we feel about Tony's suit?
I mean, it looks great. I took out my glasses, so it's a little blurry now that I'm looking at it, but it looks great.
Thank you.
It's really shining through.
Mike, I gotta say, I know we talked about the Super Bowl being on the way and the World Cup being the big thing, but I know you are excited for the Super Bowl as well.
Yes.
Because I was on your Instagram page today, and I know you are particularly excited for the halftime show, the Benito Bowl. You have been posting about it for, more than 100 days.
Yeah, like 120, I think, right?
People learn Spanish to get ready. Yeah. How is that going? What inspired that? And talk to me a little bit about this halftime show coming up.
Yeah, this halftime show is going to be historic for Latino audiences, for people who speak Spanish. Just having, Bad Bunny being on the biggest stage right that day, singing songs in Spanish that reflect Latinidad and la cultura. I think that for a lot of people, especially in this climate that we're living in, is going to be a great spectacle of catharsis. And I think, the United States is the second largest Spanish-speaking country in the entire world.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of people that are going to be excited for it. And I just wanted to, my mission is to share a lot of what makes Spanish great and why being bilingual is really important, especially here in the United States. And so I thought that this would be a good way of mixing those things, the pop culture and the virality of it, and also spreading the message that it's important to learn a second language, and there's a lot of benefits that come from it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I want to get into your book here in just a second, but I also wanted to kind of ask you about exactly what you just talked about, sharing your passion for your language, with your culture, especially now. What is that like, and what has the response been?
People have been I think people are looking for people to represent them on social media. Everybody has a niche, and I think that I found that my niche is speaking to modern, cool, funny Latino audience on social media. And they love the fact that, I'm promoting Spanish education and learning Spanish. I grew up in Guatemala, which I saw you had a note about Guatemala recently.
Yes, the oil story.
Until I was 17 years old, and then I came to the United States in 2006, and so, I came here knowing a little bit more English than I think most people do, but I still learned a lot here in the United States, and I think my parents really told me that you need to learn a second language in order to, the doors of the world will open for you. And so that's what I want to do for my daughter, who has just turned 3, and I want her to grow up speaking English and Spanish. And I think she's going to be very excited to dance to all the songs with me, too, during the halftime show.
So am I, and I'd say I'm learning a ton from your page as a fellow creator. I love the series that you're making with this. Now, let me ask you, again, to keep it serious about the culture that we're in. Again, we're seeing a really negative climate, and quite frankly, a racist climate towards the Latinas, and the whole community. My question for you is, how can language and learning a second language through your book, through other means that you are using, how can that break down the barriers so that we can prevent this hate from happening that we're seeing on our streets, whether it be Minneapolis and just the overall hatred towards immigration and Latino communities right now, just to be honest?
I think that we are more similar than people realize, and I think learning a second language allows you to travel, see different places in the world. I invite people to travel to Latin America, travel to different places, and not even here. You travel to other places in the world to experience what it's like to be immersed in another culture. Just because someone's different than you doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad. It's just a different culture. It's just experiencing the world opens up your mind. And I think a lot of times people are just siloed sometimes in the United States, whether it's in their social bubbles, in their echo chambers. I think it's important to step out of that to see other people's perspectives, other people's how they live their life. And a lot of times it's not about changing how other people live their life, but just understanding that there are commonalities between us, and learning a second language helps bridge that gap. And also through music and sport, all those things bring people together.
They do.
Yeah. Well, let's
Great
talk
point.
about the book now. And first and foremost, I know that I did not do the title justice. 4 O's. Can you tell me how it's actually supposed to be said?
Yeah, it's not, and I apologize to your audio engineer, but it's not pronounced gol, it's pronounced goal.
Yes,
That's what
the
I
best
wanted to
broadcasting
hear.
is in
That's
soccer.
what I wanted to
110%.
hear. 100%. Tell us a little bit more about the book, Mike.
Yeah, the best, like you said, el fútbol se oye mejor en español, in Spanish, so I think it's really important for children to learn the vocabulary in Spanish so that they can listen to the broadcast. And it's a really fun book because it tells a story of a young boy who is in a mixed team, like a mixed gender team, and they're playing their final game of the season, and as they're going along, he has to review all these different terms that come along with soccer, and it's almost like an announcer. And so kids get to learn a lot. I always tell people, if your child thinks that tacos de fútbol is something you can eat, you need to get them this book so they understand that that's actually the soccer cleat. So it's really fun for kids to learn, and for parents as well. My books are also really specific. They're called Sisabo Kits because they're made specifically for people who don't speak any Spanish to teach their children Spanish. So if you don't know any Spanish and you want your kids to learn, these are great books for you because they have pronunciation guides, and it's really a fun read.
When looking at having this book with children and parents, how can parents leverage the book to really help their their child learn Spanish and really retain it? Because one of the things that I've seen as someone who took Spanish for 4 years, I couldn't retain it. So how can parents do this now with your books to help their students or their children retain the language?
Our books are for early education. It's really, really important to start early on. From the moment they are born, even before that, when they're in the belly, start speaking to them in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because this is the time when they're really absorbing language. And a lot of people, you can speak to them only in English or only in Spanish or English or in Spanish. And it's just about having those resources. So having books available at home that are in Spanish and in English, like ours, bilingual, really allows family members to have that moment to grab something and remind them that they have to continually speak Spanish to them and continually read a story over and over again. And I think kids love that. They'll love a book and they'll have people, reading it over and over. And if you can do that in Spanish, a lot of stuff really sticks. I've experienced it with my daughter. She's basically the person that I've made these books for, and it's amazing to see, how much Spanish she's been able to pick up. Like I said, she's 3 years old and she's rolling her R's like a pro.
Wow,
well,
that's nice.
I see that behind you too. Roll your R's. And
oh wow, I didn't see that.
You literally led me right into my next question, which is this is
great.
just one of a series of bilingual books aimed towards kids. Was the inspiration to get into children's publishing becoming a father?
Yes, absolutely. And seeing that there were not a lot of books that were made specifically with raising bilingual children in mind. A lot of the books, are books that were written in English and then they're translated into Spanish. This is something that was made specifically to help parents teach English and Spanish. And this is actually our first sound book, How Do You Roll Your R's?
Wow.
And if you don't know how to roll your R's in this book, you can, like let's say this reggaeton is one of the things right here. So you can just click on it.
That's so fun.
I love that. It's simple too.
It actually can hear how you pronounce the R, and it's really good for kids to just start listening to that. So if you want to teach your kids to roll their R's, but you can't roll your R's yourself, this book is perfect for you.
You're literally describing me right now because I have a
Right.
3-week-old at home.
That's funny.
Can you say carro?
I can't.
Carlo.
That's the thing. I can't.
No?
But that's why I love
Carlo.
this, because
No, I just said Carlo.
it can do
Yeah.
the heavy
Carlo.
lifting for me.
Can't do it. And I'm Italian. I have heritage. There's something rolling of ours done a little bit, and I still can't do it. Let me ask you this: you built a pretty good-sized empire here when it comes to your books and just your teaching. You know, in terms of being a content creator in this era, what is your why? And how do you, balance, being entertained and make sure people can understand the information, but also being able to tell enough information for it to be really valuable to children and their parents?
I think it's all about representation for me. That is my why. Right now you don't need a TV show. You can have a platform just on your phone to be able to do this. Obviously, you guys have this major reach with your television show, but you're bringing me on here to talk about this, and I wouldn't be here if I hadn't picked up my phone and said, you know what, I'm going to start sharing about my life, things that I care about, my community, and I think a lot of people resonated with that story, and people get to know you a lot. So I always tell business owners, if you are starting a business, or if you're starting your books, or whatever it is, get in front of the camera. Don't be afraid of it, because people want to see you. They don't necessarily sometimes just want to see products. And that's why when you go on my pages on Millennial Loteria or Sisabo Kids on Instagram, on TikTok, you're going to see a lot about my life. You're going to see about my daily life, what I'm doing with my kids, what I'm doing with my friends, when I go to premieres, when I'm working on my books. All these things are things that people want to see. They don't just want to be sold something. They want to see the whole experience of you even creating these books.
You mentioned Millennial Loteria, and that was obviously something you created and became very viral and well known for. Can you talk to us a little bit about that too?
Yeah, if you haven't played Loteria, a lot of people call it Mexican bingo or Latino bingo.
Oh, wow.
It's a really, really fun game to play, and I was able to, modernize it and started creating it online just as memes. And then it just sort of took off, and I started getting hundreds of thousands of followers being like, what's the next card going to be? And it was a fun way of reinterpreting, that nostalgia that I had of growing up Latino, but give it a modern twist with cards like, La Feminist, El Hipster, El Gluten, that's our death card. And it's a really fun thing for millennials sort of to play and laugh about. And that just, kind of got huge and took a life of its own, but again, I started that in 2018, so it's been a while now, and my audience grew up with me. So now it's now that I have a child, a lot of my audience, people that follow me, also have children, and they're looking for ways to, teach their kids how to speak Spanish. And so I think it's evolved over time, that following that I've had, and I'm growing with my followers, they're growing with me, and it's really special to share that relationship with them.
This is really good advice for me as a creator, because I'm learning about this process too of growing up with your following. Now, when you go to make a book as part of, you have a series of great books and you're trying to make sure you teach and also entertain, how do you go about thinking about the next book idea? What's your process for writing it? What's your process for distilling that information down? How do you do it that it's so easy for people to understand and to teach as well?
I think for me, it's as my daughter is growing, I'm getting a lot of ideas from just playing with her and seeing what's out there. I love to identify gaps in the market, is what I call it. So gaps in the market is something that isn't out there. When I was trying to teach my daughter how to roll her R's, and again, she's pretty young to be doing it. When I was trying to do that, I Googled how do you roll your R's? And there were no books about it. I went on Amazon and was like, how do you roll your R's? And there wasn't really anything that taught children how to do one of the hardest things for Spanish speakers to do. And I realized there is nothing like this out there. This is something that I can do. And that's why literally my book is just called How Do You Roll Your R's?
Right, it's simple.
Looking for it, this is the perfect
First
way
thing
to
that's gonna
find
pop
it
up.
and do it. And so that's something that I like to do. Again, my background is in marketing as well. I worked a lot with a lot of different brands before I just became a content creator.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I did a lot of marketing and content creation from brands like Taco Bell. I did Jack in the Box. Tons of different campaigns that I was a part of and ran as a creative director. And I've been able to use everything I learned from my background in marketing and now apply it to my own business as a creator and all the things that I create in terms of books and games.
I'm a huge marketing guy too. I have my own little side. I love marketing. I know it sounds kind of weird. I love it though. So I love that. I can just sense the passion and how you perfectly applied it to this. That's
Mike,
really
what
well
would
done.
be the dream gig, the dream project, the dream collaboration at this point and moving forward?
Oh my God, I would love to take the IP of Si Sabo Kids and turn it into a children's show, something that can help children.
It was the first thing
learn
I thought of.
Yeah.
Spanish. I think that's something that I would love to do and take it further. And we're working behind the scenes of getting this out there and getting noticed. And
There you go.
I think one day someone's gonna come along and they'll see the vision that I have for where Si Sabo Kids can go. And I think that would be incredibly amazing to do a song, and like a show with music. And I have a lot of friends who are in the music industry, so I'd love to pull them in to do something. But that's kind of like, that's on my vision board for 2026.
All right.
I could see it. I mean, again, Mr. Rogers, we have LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow. I could see you being that next generation. Well, because I think we need to teach the next generation. My generation didn't have it, of learning Spanish and other languages for real. And I think you're doing it early, which is so important, because that's how, again, you said it. It starts young. They know kids can understand it easier, and they can build both languages, as opposed to just being kind of a passerby, a passive experience.
Yes, and it helps with that connection of language. They start to understand there's two different languages, and it's so important to just speak, or even, again, at the end of the day, when kids are younger, speaking, singing to them, reading to them is so important. So I always advocate, whether you do it in English, in Spanish, or what other language you speak, it's really just important. That early education is so valuable.
All right, Mike, last but not least, and most importantly, if people want to follow you for more details, if they want to get a copy of the book, how can they do it?
They can follow me on Millennial Loteria on Instagram and TikTok, or they can follow Si Sabo Kids on Instagram as well for all of our children's book. Our next book, Goal, comes out March
Well done.
5th, so please go pre-order it and be the first to get it.
All right.
Maybe
Mike.
broadcasting in your career too, my friend. I'm just saying.
I
You're
was
good in front of the camera.
I was literally just
Do
going to
sports.
say I would love to connect offline, because when coverage starts for the World Cup, we're going to be looking for somebody who can explain it in a way that makes everybody
Yes.
understand. So I would love to touch base with you again soon.
That'd be fun.
Please, I'm here for anything you need.
All right,
I'll
Mike.
wear my tan suit.
Perfect.
I probably.
Bring it in full
Listen.
circle. That's what I love
I
to
will
see.
not wear it. It's only one time this winter.
Mike, thank you so much. Good luck, and we can't wait to see the kids show and the dreams
Yep.
come true.
It will come true, my friend. It will come true.
All right. Have
Thank
a
you very
great
much.
night. Thank you. All right. And just a reminder
Love
for
him.
everyone out there that the World Cup coverage will be Fox 5, your home for all of it, 2026. Tony P., how cool was that?
I'll tell you something.